So good evening, good morning, good afternoon to everyone. This is Mariam Khan, Executive Director, Community Development Foundation, heading 16 Days of Activism campaign, Activism for Development campaign, with the three major components based on smart agriculture solutions. And we are, moving day by day towards the different segment suggestions and recommendations for improving food and nutrition. And also we are taking and moving this campaign towards food security. So the objective of this campaign is removing malnutrition from 0 to 15 age of young kids. And we are taking in this campaign across the globe, a lot of speakers, guest speakers, and audience which are coming on regular basis to attend and listen with us this campaign, and they are promoting in their countries, in their areas, and even on their social media platforms. So thank you so much for everyone on the regular basis to join us and promoting this campaign from the Global Women's Development Network, Community Development Foundation, and International and Indigenous Women's Day Conference platform. So today we are on the 8th day of our campaign. So we are moving towards our 8th day with the 3 sessions. First session will be headed by Sir Lloyd, and second session will be headed by Dr. Calvin Morgan. And we have also one guest speaker from the African Festival Foundation. She's Madam Patricia, and she's also coming to quickly address on the family farming from their side. So today we have a very, like less in numbers, but big in, discussions, a larger agenda. But we are going to, as our, proceedings, we are taking our opening remarks from the chairperson of this campaign, Dr. Tamara Umar, and we will start after her remarks to the regular proceedings of today's session. So, Madam Tamara, you are most welcome to address opening remarks for today's session.
Yes, Mariam, thank you for your introduction for our day. Today is day number 8 of our campaign. Our campaign of, or the 16 days campaign of activism for development. So welcome everyone for our team and all our participants and audience who's been with us since day 1 and who's been working on participating with all their efforts, including speeches or working on programs, our team making this campaign, coming with the goals that we're looking for. So today, this is the opening of day number 8 of this campaign. And as just Mariam mentioned, the agenda is going to be 3 sessions. Our keynote speaker today is going to be Mr. Lloyd Helferty, and his topic going to be the presentation about the IGU Summit presentation and overview of the Global Unity Network supporting the localizations of global goals. And we're going to have the second and the third session. The second session going to be for Dr. Kelvin live from Africa. And it's going to be the visit for one of the farms there to share smart technologies in agriculture. And he's representing African Festival Foundation. And also the third session is going to be for Miss Patricia, and she's also from African Festival Foundation. So the presentation today is going to be alignment with the campaign themes for the smart agriculture and smart solutions and food security, and the climate smart food program. The CSF also is going to be presented today, as well as supporting the establishment of the global network of eco-villages and populated by humanitarian and entrepreneurs who are delivering local solutions for achieving. And for our campaign, just a reminder, we're supporting here Sustainable Development Goal number 2, which is zero hunger, and number 13, which is also climate action. And to be honest, all the Sustainable Development Goals is like a cycle. One leads to another one. So zero hunger, we need to achieve such a goal or to start working in this goal and advance it. We need to work also on many other goals from gender equality and, for example, in the quality education 4 and 5, SDGs 4 and 5, and also the climate change is very, very critical and important goal to be also working on that. And we're in a process of establishing many programs that it's going to be promote and advance the climate change. However, you know, it's really essential nowadays, and it's a global target for all the governments and all the leaders to have solutions for whatever crisis we're facing regarding the climate. So it's very, very important. And it's, of course, going to be related also to all the agriculture and all the campaign goals. Again, welcome everyone, and we're here to join hands together and start working in as many solutions as we can have. And at the end of this campaign, we want to have the conclusion of what type of solution we're gonna have, and to be presented to the decision makers and to all stakeholders or shareholders, where we're going to be able to establish and start real projects and working on that, and make it in a really organized plans, and through a certain timeline where we can be able to accomplish our plan gradually. So I'm not going to talk too long about that. I'm going to give the chance for the rest of the team and for our keynote speakers, and to start talking about all the points, and to present us all their presentations. Thank you, everyone. And yes, we can start day number 8. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Tamara, for your opening remarks. We are really, giving special thanks to you that you are all regularly, spare time to come from your busy schedule to deliver the opening remarks on each day. Thank you so much. And now we are moving towards our today's proceeding. Sir Andrew, if you are in the session, kindly, can you revise the yesterday's proceedings, which I have shared on the in the post and also shared with you? Sir Andrew, are you with us, please? Okay. I can revise the yesterday's proceeding. This is, yesterday we are on day 7, and day 7 was majorly headed by our one of pioneer colleague and member of Global Women's Development Network and International Women's Day Conference. This is Sharmista from India. Sharmista participated yesterday as a keynote speaker, and she also bring her 3 panel guest of speakers with her. And these guest speakers are coming with different subjects. Sharmista was, presented her organization work, which is, a tangible model of community services. And also she's shared a lot of other things regarding the organization is doing in their country. And yes, these are no doubt, these are really very powerful social models for as a non-profit organization. And also she has shared different business model also of the organization, which can be useful not only because of social services. She also shared a component which is supporting on a larger scale in violence against women also. So the rest of the speakers, talking about the smart agriculture, kitchen gardening, zero waste management, and also one of the speaker is also presented, the different preparation and reproceeding from the waste material. So thank you so much, Sharmista, that you and your team, rocked the day, and you did a lot of good, stuff over there to being this day a successful day. Then we have, Dr. Sadia with us. Dr. Sadia was presented the session on preventions of violence against women. So all these, preventing measures was presented on a very comprehensive presentation by Dr. Sadia. She's from Pakistan, but she's delivered in a very good manner. So, at the last, we have from Nigeria, we have Dr. Young from, if I properly remember his country, I think so he's from Nigeria. And he joined us, but he didn't deliver his campaign because he's having some connection issues. Because when he's, on his computer, so then he lost his connection. So he said that any other day I can come again and I will deliver my speech. So yesterday we have, 4 major speakers, including our keynote speaker, Sharmista. Thank you so much for the whole team. And the concluding remarks and all a whole day conclusion also done by Sharmista. So thank you so much for the yesterday proceedings. So today we have one of our, again, very senior colleague, a very senior mentor for me, especially. This is Sir Lloyd, and Sir Lloyd is today coming with us as a keynote speaker. Sir, first of all, thank you so much for spare time for us for this campaign and joining us. And Sir Lloyd is coming to address today the smart agriculture and smart options on the agriculture and food. So thank you so much, sir, for joining us today. And we are going to listen you now through your presentation. And let's over to you.
Thank you very much, Mariam. So I don't know if I consider myself a senior and expert actually in smart agriculture. We developed a program called the Ctp Program and the CSF program through our Science for Peace Community Sustainability Working Group, and this is what we've been supporting. But I will share my screen. I do have a presentation PowerPoint, which I will use. But the first thing I actually do usually, because I am in Canada, in North America, on Turtle Island, we like to do a land acknowledgement first. So that is what I will start. So we always like to acknowledge those who came before us on this land. So I would like to say is that we begin today by acknowledging that we walk upon the traditional territories of Indigenous peoples, and we recognize their history, spirituality, culture, and stewardship of this land. We're grateful to all Indigenous groups and their commitment to protect the land and its resources, and we're committed to reconciliation, partnership, and enhanced understanding. We acknowledge as well that the land we're meeting on here, where I am, in the Greater Toronto area, is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe peoples, and is now home to many diverse peoples. We'd also like to acknowledge the land we're on is at the meeting place of 2 treaties, the land of the Mississaugas of the Credit and those of the First Nations of the Williams Treaty. We thank them and other Indigenous peoples for sharing this land with us. We also acknowledge and recognize all of the world's Indigenous peoples as stewards of Mother Earth. So this is our standard opening that we like to do. And I will now share my screen, the actual presentation. Just give me a second here. Slideshow. share. Hopefully that is going to be shortly visible to everybody. Just let me know if the slide is visible. It should say 2021, 22
yes,
Indigenous Global.
Yes, sir. This is visible
Okay,
for us.
excellent. Thank you. So I would like to start this presentation by giving recognition to our supporters, in particular EDFU Foundation, but as well, you'll see also in the logo shown here, the Maui Aloha Project, the 5 Points Youth Foundation, the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors, Andrew Networks, Future Lift Foundation, Global Women's Development Network, Global Peace Let's Talk, Community Development Foundation, the American International Education Federation, and many more. It's actually difficult to just spend too much time on that slide in particular. I do want to give out special recognition to the EDFU Foundation as our primary sponsor supporting the Global Unity Work Initiative through May 26, 2022. I'm hoping actually somebody can mute themselves if they are making a little bit of noise on the line as well, if that's possible. So EDFU supports transforming our world through sustainable development, or Agenda 2030, and also partnered with several individuals, organizations, companies, and tribes around the world in order to help the world achieve equality and to heal. So as well, you'll see the logo for Andrew Networks, which is a brand and domain name owned by RXTC Export Trading Company, comprising social media channels, Facebook pages, TRN-TV International News, Universal Citizens Media Networks, Conversations with Andrew Williams Jr., the AJ Action Team, and the Encounter Think Tank Group. So I will as well put into the chat here. Just need to open up the chat. Into the chat here a little bit, some of the links for these organizations for everybody to be able to access these organizations information as well. I will put in, so that is for EDFU. This is for Andrew Networks. So Andrew also founded the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors, Advocates, and Activists in September 2019, with a focus on localizing the Sustainable Development Goals during the Decade of Action and Delivery on the SDGs, which of course is 2020 to 2030. We're in the second year. Andrew later appointed me as Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassador Representative for Canada, the Francophonie, and Commonwealth of Nations countries. Turtle Island was later added earlier this year in 2021. This was originally published on January 1st, 2020, however. So I will put in again into the chat the link for the ambassadors. So this is myself. I am Lloyd Halferty, the Chief Ecosystem Director, Program Development Director, and Sustainable Society Consultant for Energyme University. I am in Canada, however. Energyme University is a private company. This is created to help empower global populations to reestablish a sustainable balance to their local environments. Energyme does this by designing and implementing projects that support a strong and diversified local economy, while integrating core sustainable technologies and infrastructure into these communities in the areas of renewable energy, high density food growth, managing local waste streams, and protecting local water resources. So Energyme is supported by over 375 companies whose products and technologies they employ. But importantly, Energyme University also supports local education and training in the construction, deployment, and maintenance of the various integrated solutions for achieving closed loop systems that in turn support self-sufficient, sustainable communities. So I will put in some links to my contact information as well into the chat. So we are working through an organization. I am a co-founder and administrator of this group called the We Energime Global Cooperation Turtle Island International Civil Society Organization that's seeking to undertake life value peace education in the context of life learning gardens. So I will put in the link to this Facebook group, which is our main entry point for this organization. I am also, of course, a Goodwill Ambassador for the 5 Points Youth Foundation in Los Angeles, with a portfolio that covers Canada, La Francophonie, the Commonwealth of Nations, and Turtle Island communities, as a member of the ad hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors and Activists, seeking to empower our communities to engage with royal, Indigenous, and tribal leadership, as well as creating interfaith neighborhood business collaboratives, which is seeking to leave no one behind. So again, I will put in some of the information behind this for people to understand the ad hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors and the 5 Points Youth Foundation. So as we move forward, I'm also co-founder of the Global Unity Business Group, which came together as a coalition of small businesses in order to establish, manage, and grow what we call the Global Unity Network. So our Global Unity Business Group is a humanitarian enterprise and global sustainable and regenerative development corporation supporting and promoting the local delivery of open source regenerative climate smart infrastructure set up as life learning gardens. So we are promoting the local delivery of this open source climate smart infrastructure set up as the life learning gardens, along with a hybrid virtual learning platform that we call the VCN, or the Interchange for Peace. So the Global Unity Business Group was really created in order to formalize this process of localization of global goals and manage this network, starting with the SDGs in this period, the Sustainable Development Goals. We do this through the establishment of this Global Unity Network, which so far includes a Unity Gardens Network, a Unity Learning Network, a Unity Health Network, Finance Network, and an Indigenous Global Unity Network. Many other dedicated Unity networks, all being important components of our network of networks that comprise the entirety of the Global Unity Network. So I will again put into the chat some information about our business group. So we have, through the Global Unity Network, created a showcase global cooperation for the implementation of the local regenerative solutions to achieving the global goals, starting again with 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And our goal really is to help uplift the traditionally marginalized communities that are mostly being left behind, because the existing economic paradigm is very much focused on making money and extracting wealth from those who are already wealthy. And therefore, the majority of people on Earth are mostly being ignored by our existing highly competitive economy. So our focus is thus on the billions of people who exist or subsist on the economic sidelines, where we intend to start our work by delivering solutions for people and communities in some of the least developed countries, communities, and local economies that are most, especially the most food insecure. So our Global Unity Network is promoting the delivery, again, of the practical solutions for achieving the global goals, starting with the Sustainable Development Goals during this SDG period until 2030, using the tools of humanitarian entrepreneurship focused on what we call FFHE, or the female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs, and and enterprises, along with a hybrid virtual and hands-on education and training learning program with a primary focus again on humanitarian entrepreneurship, skills training, and in practical settings, so those practicum learning, as we call it, along with leveraging an open source regenerative climate smart infrastructure solutions remotely to assist these local interfaith neighborhood and business collaborative teams to establish local open source Unity Garden classrooms in all of the local communities around the world. So the Unity Garden classroom really set up in conjunction with existing schools that exist in local communities can be used for local and remote virtual delivery of the practical learning programs for those FFAG to learn how to grow, process, cook, market, sell, and trade the various types of regenerative climate smart food and related nutritional, medicinal, and other types of locally produced regenerative products within their own local communities, as well as regionally, nationally, continentally, and even internationally, globally, in order to produce income and therefore greater prosperity for all of the people on all continents, with the intention, of course, and our goal being to leave no one behind. So the Global Unity Network, at the same time, we promote through the virtual social marketing systems, all of the members of our network. So we're using the various practical social media, networking, and trade tools of what's called the modern Fourth Industrial Revolution, combined with deep Indigenous knowledge of both our ancestors and the living Indigenous people of this earth in order to share the abundance of this planet and learn from each other in order to create productive, regenerative, climate smart landscapes wherever each of us may live in and around all of our local communities. So our intention is also to help restore nature and biodiversity, ensuring abundance for all, and ultimately restoring the human connection to Mother Earth as proper stewards of our one and only beautiful planet. So the Global Unity Network is establishing, for the purposes of our program, a virtual collaborative network, or utilizing a virtual collaborative network, hybrid learning model delivered through both the Unity Gardens for the hands-on experiential practicum learning, as well as through a digital VCN that bundles all of the various functions of individual websites into a single site or a collaborative portal that allows for all of the digital virtual learning to be delivered alongside a place where e-commerce can also take place. So in other words, it's an all-in-one platform for trade, commerce, and learning, bundled into a single platform, the VCN using what's called the digital collaborator engine, intended to turbocharge the networking, exchange, trade, and education delivery capabilities of and for the members of our network. It's also called a PXN, Partner Exchange Network, or Partner Ecosystem. And the digital collaboration technology is intended to help organizations in 6 areas of digital transformation: digital leadership, strategy, customer intimacy, business service design, agile transformation, and doing health check analysis of their organizations. We believe that this VCN platform can actually help every organization become an agile organization for the 21st century, helping them to move beyond the current health pandemic. So the transformational networking tools are being designed to change the trajectory on performance and organizational health. And one of the other crucial value-added element of capabilities, or the hard and soft skills needed to help organizations reach and sustain their full potential. So this VCN is actually intended to be a stepping stone toward a new vision for the internet called the metaverse, which has had a lot of attention recently, of course, with the renaming of Facebook to the new corporate name Meta, which actually refers to this metaverse concept. So I will put into the chat a link to a Wikipedia article about the metaverse so people can understand what this is. So the Global Unity Network is a business group. We're managing the Global Unity Network geographically, helping to establish localized country, regional, and continental UnityNet global business development networks, which serve to manage the local and community networks. We also have regional, continental UnityNet organizations that organize themselves according to the concepts and principles of what's called sociocracy. And they will assist communities in each country to establish what we call local and regional community engagement teams, or INBCs, interfaith neighborhood and business collaboratives. The primary purpose of both the business and the network is to promote this ad hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors process of localization of global goals, specifically by promoting processes that help local communities to establish partnerships as per SDG 17, with the support of local humanitarian entrepreneurs who are dedicated to implementing the various local regenerative community-based enterprise solutions for achieving the global goals. So again, in the chat, I put in some information about this concept of sociocracy. So our Global Unity Network, the purpose really of the network itself, the goal being to support and uplift through the delivery of the learning programs, the practical hands-on education and training, along with promoting all of the youth and the female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs around the world who either have or wish to implement replicable regenerative solutions for achieving the global goals, starting, of course, with the Sustainable Development Goals, or the SDGs. So we focus on regenerative solutions that can be localized one community at a time, starting in the least developed countries, communities, and economies, by working with the people that have been most forgotten and marginalized, with the intention, of course, of leaving no one behind. So our philosophy is that machines are not the economy. People doing things is what makes an economy. And so if we can lift people from poverty, or better yet, empower them to lift themselves from poverty, we'll have automatically injected new life into the global economy. So the goal of the Global Unity Network is therefore uplifting the bottom billions, with our ultimate goal being teaching people how to feed themselves the climate smart way, where we think of the old saying, give a man a fish and feed him for a day. Teach a man a fish and you will feed him for a lifetime. Global Unity Network is all about teaching, especially the women and the youth, to fish, so they no longer need to be fed the next day when they're hungry again. So we also focus on promoting and demonstrating only the open source solutions, as in open source regenerative climate smart food growing infrastructure, set up as these Unity Garden classrooms at and with schools, including universities, colleges, high schools, etc. So Unity programs, we are supporting and work in partnership with the Unity programs of the local Unity Network organizations that have been established and continue to be established around the world, and deliver various projects, campaigns, and events, such as, of course, the Tree of Peace and Reconciliation tree planting ceremonies, and our Sunlight Spectacle virtual edutainment events and shows, along with the Indigenous Global Unity Summit events, which are taking place now. This is part of that. So these events take place until Africa Day next year, 2022. And in future, we will be coordinating what we call the Coordinated International Global Fund Festivals. We're also, of course, working in support of the expansion of the Global Women's Development Network, which, of course, this event right now is being hosted. So I talked about Life Learning Gardens. We are supporting and promoting the local delivery of source regenerative climate smart infrastructure. We set this up, this infrastructure, we teach people to set this up, these Life Learning Gardens. They're designed for the delivery of hands-on practical learning programs supporting all manner of life value peace education. So these include what are called CSV gardens, victory forests, climate smart kitchens, spark learning centers or climate smart education and training centers, and Wheel of Life farms and farm schools. Not all of these are developed, but we are moving forward to try to demonstrate all of them eventually. So our projects include what we call a sacred site and watershed mapping project, the Ctp program, which I will talk about later, collaborative tree planting initiative for twinning communities, along with collaboration for the development of a system of payments for ecosystem services using digital tokens of exchange for certified climate smart products, and help to deliver or sequester carbon that are made by humanitarian entrepreneurs and enterprises that are helping to implement these local solutions for achieving the global goals, again, starting with the SDGs. So some of the other key campaigns include a dream boards in every community campaign to establish local community dream boards, where we help to mobilize the youth and help turn their dreams into reality, along with a tea diplomacy initiative that connects local farmers, growers, and entrepreneurs across geographies and among the members of communities that may not otherwise ever get a chance to talk to each other and get to know each other as people. So the idea being to sit down, even if only virtually, have tea, relax, and discuss local solutions to global problems like food security, hunger, climate change, the environment, peace, security, as well as being for people in each of our own local communities. So people who participate can also discuss around what kinds of teas they like to drink, healthy foods they like to eat while drinking those teas, and what unique teas they grow in their own local communities and region, and of course the importance of these teas to their local people and cultures. So the first Continental Unity Network actually was developed recently, and it's called the UnityNet Africa and Diaspora Group, intended to be a safe space for cooperative discussion with others in the Global Unity Network as we develop the Continental Network for all of the people of Africa and for eventual replication across all countries worldwide, starting in, of course, the least developed countries, communities, and economies. The initial board of directors for the African Continental Network is listed on this slide. The new board of directors also confirmed an official advisory board that includes somebody on our call today, Shepi Motlong from South Africa, Piran Dera from Kenya, Andrew Williams Jr., chairperson of the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board in the US, Nancy Moy, and Sylvia Percha-Pura, who are in Sierra Leone, along with Samson Olak, the country chairperson of Ukitane EV Kenya, who helped to start the original UnityNet Africa group discussion back in September 23rd of this year. As well, Carlos Richard Sanko from UnityNet Sierra Leone is our new continental president, and Dr. Mary Ifeanyi from Nigeria in the West Africa region is the new vice continental president. So Sierra Leone is actually one of the oldest Global Unity Network chapters, where there are now 10 trees of peace and reconciliation already planted in communities across the country, which again serve as a precursor for the creation of a local INBC, the Interface Neighborhood and Business Collaboratives, and eventually the establishment of the Unity Garden Classroom infrastructure. So the new board of directors of UnityNet Africa and Diaspora was put together in a way to try to represent the 6 regions of Africa. As per SDG 5, gender equality, the selection process made an attempt to achieve gender balance as well of the board of directors of the African Unity Network by ensuring that about half of the board members and leaders were women. So this team is now working in cooperation with the existing Global Unity Network country chapters in Africa to create a model for the development of a continental and regional network of networks of the Global Unity Network by working with the grassroots people in the country chapters. So once a model is developed, we will try to replicate the process of creating country chapters across all 55 African nations, possibly also by liaising with, for instance, the African Union. But the African success will not just be for Africa. Will also be for other continents and countries as well, worldwide, where we'll focus our efforts as always on the least developed countries, communities, and economies, and those communities that are being furthest left behind as per LNOP. So I will put in here as well into the chat some information about this concept of leave no one behind as well, so people can understand as I speak to that each time. So we are now also having discussions among the leadership of the Global Unity Business Operations here in the Greater Toronto area about how we can link the North American, Turtle Island, and African agendas across time and space, and to link our programs together in a way that makes sense for all. So we are thus developing what we call a reverse CTP program, modeled on the original CTP program developed by the Drawdown Markham in late 2019. So the business group has its home in Canada, but strong support and involvement, especially from Sierra Leone and Kenya and the US as an organization. We'd like for everyone on this call, again, to consider joining one of our following groups that are also critical to the Global Unity Network, including the Global Unity Network social media discussions that have been created by the Global Unity Business Group, which is noted a humanitarian enterprise and global sustaining and regenerative development corporation, supporting and promoting the local delivery of open source regenerative climate smart infrastructure set up as life learning gardens, or what we call Unity Gardens. So you'll see quite a few links in there. I will put into the chat some of those same links so that people have direct access to them. I wanted to mention a few important nodes in the network. I would like to mention these critical nodes, including the Regenerative Living, Learning, and Lifestyle Network, the Unity Learning Network, the Unity Health Network, the Unity Eco Village Network, the Indigenous Global Unity Network, as well as the Unity Environment Network and the Unity Biodiversity Network. In addition, we're also developing even more essential nodes in the network, including a Peace Centers Network, a Children and Youth Network, a Smart Communities and Cities Network, a Social Business Network, a Climate Smart Tourism Network, aligned, of course, with the Tourism for SDGs mandate, and of course, a Women and Feminists Network for our humanitarian entrepreneur business owners and managers to exchange tips, tricks, and ideas among themselves, and a number of other critical networks and nodes. So again, I will put into the chat a few of the links to our main groups. And so in a couple of seconds, I will show you a map, our network map. So the Global Unity Network has a very specific focus on one specific area of development, which is really hybrid or virtual and hands-on practical education and training in the context of and for regenerative development solutions, for which we intend to assist people in local communities to build and demonstrate at least one of the 5 different regenerative climate smart infrastructure solutions in their own local communities in collaboration with existing local learning institutions. So it's intended that these Unity Garden solutions will, at minimum, be able to address 2 of the Sustainable Development Goals, SDG 2, Zero Hunger, and SDG 13, Climate Action. We're building basically a global network that cuts across all areas of humanitarian entrepreneurship learning as they relate to the implementation of various local solutions for achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, and that relate to our even more specific focus on climate smart food and related regenerative development solutions that will help humanity to move beyond Sustainable Development Goals and into a new era of what we like to call the regenerative development. However, that might ultimately be defined post-2030. So we're just starting the conversation now. We're still about 8 years ahead of the inevitable transition to the next phase of the global goals, post-2030, where the SDGs are now just the second phase of what we call a 1,000-year plan for the Millennium Development. That Millennium Development Project to achieve peace on Earth in a way that leaves no one behind. And where the larger Millennium Development Project intends that all of humanity can be uplifted and empowered to achieve their highest potential. So you'll see in the corner of this graphic on this page a reference to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and I'm putting into the chat a link for that so people can see closer. So on this seemingly complicated graphic, you will see that the Unity Network, Africa and Diaspora, is the very first continental chapter of the Global Unity Network. Continental chapters are being created in order to facilitate the establishment of the country chapters of the Global Unity Network on the specific continent or in the specific geographical jurisdiction where the continental chapter has responsibility. And where we have already established so many country chapters, starting with Kenya and Sierra Leone and Nigeria and so many others now, which are being created in order to facilitate the establishment of local INBCs, those interfaith neighborhood and business collaboratives, at the local level in each community, which is the level where we are leveraging our unique process of community engagement through, of course, the planting of trees of peace and reconciliation, those tree planting ceremonies, and the coordinated fun festivals, which are for the future, but which will be co-created and done in collaboration with the Greater Unity Network members and the various PodNet cooperative members as well. So we have the Ctp program for twinning communities for activities such as community organized tree planting and other local regenerative public community infrastructure development projects and events, along with, as I mentioned, the Tea Diplomacy Initiative, which is to be fully defined moving forward, but is described earlier during this ongoing summit series that we have every week. So the Dream Boards initiative, which is also to be more fully defined, working in collaboration, especially with the, what we call the C4 group members, and identification of the and engagement with local talent, artists and creative people in the orange economy for the purpose of promoting and showcasing their talent and promoting the globalization of the global goals and the regenerative economy during any of our public sunlight spectral events. So any other programs that and activities that are developed in the context of the CSV Gardens, which of course are delivered by the Foundation for Building Sustainable Communities here in Canada, the Victory Forests, also delivered by FPSC, Climate Smart Kitchens, which are delivered by Kindred Kitchens, the Wheel of Life Farms, which are delivered by an organization called EPWT or ESRLA in Vietnam and USA, and the Smart Learning Centers or Climate Smart Learning Centers, which are delivered by the PodNet Cooperative, which is a global cooperative. So I wanted to note as well the Unity Gardens of the Global Unity Network encourage co-learning and intercultural collaboration, and what is called as well two-eyed seeing. So the Unity Gardens are really supposed to and intended to be places where children, especially young people, youth, are taught that no one being is greater than the next, that we are part and parcel of the whole, that we are equal, that each one of us has a responsibility to the balance of the system, and an understanding that all of the world's species and all our bio and eco-kin contributions to make. So I wanted to as well place some information into the chat about this concept of two-eyed seeing, or which is a guiding principle for intercultural collaboration. So this is some information two-eyed seeing in the chat here. So I will provide an update as well The Global Unity Network actually, just to clarify, focuses on the smaller scale community-based and regenerative solutions that can be implemented by smallholders in local communities, including in rural areas as well as in cities, and where the programs of the Global Unity Network are also focused on initial and ongoing community engagement for the development of local partnerships, and basically to establish and maintain the local INDCs, as well for establishing the regenerative infrastructure, both the digital and hands-on classrooms, that will allow for the efficient and widespread delivery of the learning programs. So this practical education and training of the open source solutions for achieving at minimum both SDG 2 Zero Hunger and SDG 13 Climate Action at the local level, especially for those who are the most marginalized in each of our local communities. So the local team here in Toronto is actually establishing the Greater Toronto Area Unity Network, or UnityNet ETA, through a partnership that is being developed through the We Energime Global Cooperation Turtle Island International Civil Society Organization. So in order to create an Indigenous Global Unity Network that will deliver programs for practical reconciliation with Indigenous communities and their allies around the world for the purpose of healing our planet, restoring biodiversity, and ensuring global social integrity one community at a time, by looking through the lens of implementing the various solutions for achieving the global goals locally, starting with the local implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals during this UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration 21-2030. What I wanted to do was also put into the chat the link to that UN Decade as well. So we will be starting with the development of a Greater Toronto Area and Canadian Urban Food and Farming Expo network that will focus on the development of a local regenerative climate smart food supply chain ecosystem here in the Greater Toronto Area, by first establishing a virtual urban farming network for the various global smart fair trade products that will be certified as regenerative climate smart, and which at minimum can help to tackle SDG 2 Zero Hunger and SDG 13 Climate Action, one meal at a time, and where our intention, is also to leave no one behind as we globally implement a new regenerative economy, not only in Canada, but also around the world through partnerships as per SDG 17. So I am also in discussion with 3 important teams about our Ctp program. So first, the city of Mississauga in Canada, with some side discussions with the city of Markham, where I'm living, a university in Pakistan, which came on to one of our IGU summits recently, and the Continental Network of Unity Network Africa and Diaspora in Sierra Leone and Uganda, since especially Sierra Leone is further ahead of the rest because they have already planted 10 trees of peace and reconciliation in local communities across the country. So I wanted to mention the Ctp program, which aims to create community-to-community partnerships between the local INDCs. So in each local community where the multi-stakeholder 7-sector matrix partnerships are created, being established locally, the ideal partners of any INDC should be identified early in the process. And although some are obvious, usually there's only one local government and possibly only one local learning institution like a university or college, it can get more complicated as partners are identified from the NGOs and CSOs and other types of local and regional organizations. So these discussions are the first step to establish our reverse Ctp program across all of the UnityNet Africa and Diaspora country chapters, which is where we're focusing our efforts right now. But for 2022 and beyond, with our planning for Turtle Island going out until the year 2064 in 6-year increments, in alignment with the World Forestry Congress event that happen every 6 years. We look at 2064 as being important because, of course, it is also 1 year after the African Union Agenda 2063 is expected to be achieved. So next steps and discussions are happening with leaders in UnityNet Nigeria and related to the proposed Global Climate Smart Youth Forum Nigeria, which I'm hopeful will be a partner with the Global Women's Development Network to organize it, possibly for next October 4th to 16th, 2022 as well. So we will be launching a project proposal to create food forests as well in local communities across Africa as part of the UN Decade of Ecosystem Restoration, so 2021 to 2030, likely starting in Nigeria. But back in late October, there was actually also a proposal to create a climate smart fruit orchard enterprise learning program for youth and FFHE in Nigeria, which I believe can also eventually be replicated across all of Africa and even in other countries around the world. So that climate smart victory food orchard, or ELP, for youth and FFHE could also be tied up into our 42-year Lake Ontario Great Lakes NOAA Spark Initiative project plan for the Greater Toronto Area, Canada, North America, and Turtle Island. Can start easily in the first year with just a simple YAMS for climate security project that another member in Nigeria has actually suggested that we can start right away. And I believe they have already started this in their own local community. So we have to get an update about this. I will provide more information moving forward as we do these presentations. So one more thing I wanted to mention, or a few more things I wanted to mention. On Sunday, just this past November 27th, we established a new discussion group within the Global Unity Network. So the first one was the Global Unity 4K Clubs Network, which is being established with Susan Wausi-Yego from Kenya and Ambassador Dr. Mary Ifayeni Solanke from Nigeria. So these women will begin to organize the development of some standard learning modules that can be customized and aligned to local school curriculum as required and delivered in the context of the Unity Gardens by members and partners of the local INBCs that have been established in each local community where the Unity Network continental, country, and regional chapters have been established. So I will put in, again, in the chat, links to the Global Unity 4K Clubs chat group. As well, we are establishing what we call Tukitane EV Canada. We initiated a preliminary discussion about the establishment of Tukitane EV Canada NGO, which will be delivering the Tukitane Women's Empowerment Program in Canada via the local CSOs, the INBCs, established for the purpose of delivering the Global Unity 4K Club learning programs that help uplift youth and FFHEs intergenerationally and across geographies in order to help bridge the gap between urban and rural and achieve SDG 1, 2, and 3 through SDG 4, quality education, and of course, SDG 17, partnerships. Again, coming back to the Ctp program, which I mentioned earlier. So the global cooperation overarching plan for all of the world that will be co-created by the members of the Global Unity Network Leaders Group in cooperation with the local members will be related to what's called the Reverse Collaborative Tree Planting Program that will be announced at a future IGU Summit event as well, which is essentially a twinning of communities project where the original Ctp program was created with the goal of doubling Canada's commitment to planting forests as a private sector initiative, with trees being planted on private property in communities across Canada and in other countries, primarily LDCs. We are now calling it the Reverse Ctp program, which has the main theme of from Africa to the world for planting 3D polyculture food forests in and around local communities across Africa in partnership with other communities around the world. So we have this collaborative tree planting program originally developed by Drawdown Markham for a group in Prince Edward County in East Central Ontario. Sorry, I'm just putting it in the chat. It's actually a regenerative climate smart community infrastructure development program that has a tree planting component, but the tree planting and the community forests that result from such planting is not actually the central outcome, the program outcome that we, these are actually related to the establishment and delivery of local regenerative community infrastructure that's used to deliver solutions for achieving the global goals. Currently, of course, the SDGs at the local community level. The idea is regenerative climate smart community humanitarian entrepreneurship learning program delivery. So the education and training systems at the local level in each community take part in the CTP programs, or the reverse CTP program in this case. Can be done either as twinning or even trinning or quadrinning or quintinning of local community INBCs. So I'm going to put into the chat here the original Facebook group that we created way back in January, late 2019, January 2020. So I'm the primary coordinator, or at the time, of the CSF development group, which came together in partnership with Drawdown Markham, which was also coordinated internationally through the We Energine Global Cooperation Turtle Island organization as a coordinating civil society partner. So I will put in the chat links to our Drawdown Markham and Global Cooperation Turtle Island. So we originally were discussing this with Rotary Drawdown National Monthly organization. So group, Jonathan Love, Ross White, Sandy Goldie, Kaylin Sheridan, John Carotis, we're working on this discussion with Rotary International, where Rotary had some breaking news in June of 2020 as well, where they announced, Rotary International announced a 7th area of focus in supporting the environment. So that brought in discussions with as well somebody from Climate Reality Canada, another gentleman by the name of Kim Bronson in Vancouver, and Satya Robinson from Drawdown Markham, Drawdown Toronto, Drawdown Caledon, and Drawdown, or Project Drawdown in California. So we presented some plans actually to undertake this project in Prince Edward County to my Member of Parliament, Ajit Johari, in Richmond Hill. So he's still in office and as the first federal candidate of Iranian heritage to be elected to Canada's Parliament. He also signed the Pact for Canadian Green New Deal, which I will put into the chat as well, so people can have reference to that, greennewdeal.ca. So the Pact for Green New Deal rests on 2 fundamental principles: meeting the needs or meeting the demands of Indigenous knowledge and science, and cutting Canada's greenhouse gas emissions in half in 11 years, while protecting cultural and biological diversity, as well as leaving no one behind and creating a better present and future for all of us, which means ensuring that solutions are universal and far-reaching. So where we subsequently met and discussed the proposed project around February 2020, about a month before the global COVID-19 pandemic changed everyone's lives, of course. So this CTP program actually was effectively put on ice, at least until now, where I'm hopeful that we can restart this program in early 2022. So the original team, myself, a gentleman by the name of Madan Chawla, Andrew Chin from our Drawdown Markham group, Brian Hart from Edward County, and a person that some people might know, Joan Kerr from Canada, from the Foundation for Building Sustainable Communities. We are collectively called the CSF Development Group in the Greater Toronto area. We were also working with Richard Nelson at Solar Roof and the Podnet Cooperative in Montreal and Iceland, respectively, along with having discussions with the gentleman by the name of Jude Kelly from a proposed organization called BIMA International Canada via some discussions we were having with Charles Sharp in Washington, DC. Internationally as well, we were having discussions around implementing this program with Adam Greenwell from We Energize Cooperation Turtle Island, Corin Smith from the Bermuda Spark for Humanity Living Lab, and We Are Mother Earth, which is part of the Global Cooperation Day 2019-2020 Crossroads Peace Summit Globalization Team, where they were attempting to set up prototypes in Bermuda, New Zealand, Oman, Los Angeles, Barbados, Benin, and Canada, as well as Andrew Williams Jr. from Ad Hoc International Advisory Board as chairperson of the 5.2 Foundation, and our last partner being Patrick Pekka from the Shabunda Forest Project and the Jiri Land Care Network in the Democratic Republic of Congo in the heart of Africa, which is also called Les Forêts de la Paix, or the Forest of Peace. So my hope is that with the new reverse CTP program, we can start to move Africa's and create a contribution to the global pledge to end deforestation by 2030, which was the first headline agreement from COP26, and actually is also where the EU has proposed a law actually that would prevent importing all of any commodities linked to deforestation activities. So this is one of the outcomes of this most recent COP26, and I'm putting in a few links to some articles about these outcomes that I think are very important for people to understand. So our main purpose for the Global Unity Network country chapters now is essentially to use our ad hoc International Advisory Board Global Ambassador process of globalization of the global goals, a specific community engagement process in order to assist local communities to establish these local interfaith neighborhood business collaboratives, or the INBCs, in each local community, according to a multi-stakeholder partnership template that was originally developed by Drawdown Markham, the local CSO that I created here a few years ago, and which was also adopted by the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board, which was created by the 5.2 Foundation in Los Angeles. So the partnership between Drawdown Markham CSO and the 5.2 Foundation NGO is being done through the We Energize Global Cooperation Turtle Island International Civil Society Organization, whose mandate is to deliver these life value peace education within the context of the Life Learning Gardens, which we call the Unity Gardens now, which you can see some of them are referenced in the description of the Unity Gardens discussion groups that we are creating, like the CSV Gardens. And so I can also send anyone who wishes to read more a 4-page PDF document that describes the Global Unity Network in more detail. I wanted to mention as well, though, the Unity Eco-Village Network. I noted in the description for today's event that the Global Unity Network intends to support the Climate Smart Food Program, but also support the establishment of a global network of eco-villages populated by the humanitarian entrepreneurs who are delivering these local solutions for achieving the global goals, currently the SDGs. So what I learned about eco-villages from having conversations with those who have tried in the past, if we think back to the movements going back to the late 1960s and through the 1970s, which includes an intentional community movement even here in Canada as well, was probably one of the biggest challenges was actually social or social cohesion, which is part of the reason why we're taking this approach that we are through the initial planting of the trees of peace and reconciliation, which is an activity that's intended to create culturally significant spaces in local and even also in virtual communities where discussions around solutions are intended to be undertaken. So the humanitarian entrepreneurship approach that we're taking, we believe should ultimately be more sustainable in just about all of the aspects. I wanted to mention as well the reverse CTP in a little bit more detail. So on the topic of CTP, the Global Unity Network was originally created actually to support our collaborative tree planting program, which is now being rejigged as that reverse CTP program that will ideally also support the establishment of a global network of eco-villages populated by our humanitarian entrepreneurs. So we're looking beyond the Sustainable Development Goals to the post-2030 period in time when humanity will be needing to put huge effort as well into restoring our relationship balance with nature, probably undertaking rather massive ecosystem restoration activities at the same time if we're going to survive both climate change and the massive ecosystem degradation and biodiversity loss that's ongoing. So our goal is really to establish the physical and virtual infrastructure that will allow people in every community on Earth to learn how to implement some of the local solutions themselves, which is the rationale for the hybrid approach, and why we're promoting open source hardware solutions that are not constrained by patents or other IP limitations. So as mentioned earlier in this presentation, the Global Unity Network supporting what we call the LDCCEs, in least developed countries, communities, and economies. Also in discussion with an entrepreneur here as well, I wanted to mention, who is planning to undertake a pilot project for what is called a guaranteed income system, specifically for poor and marginalized people, especially in rural communities. I believe that the this GIS, guaranteed income system, should be a wonderful complementary income support system for those who are most marginalized in our society. So the approach of the Global Unity Network projects is actually not to help people directly, like going into their other people's communities and doing things for other people. Our approach is to deliver hybrid learning programs that will allow local people to implement various solutions that we're introducing and showcasing themselves as much as possible. So our approach is to deliver hybrid learning programs that allow local people to implement various solutions that we're introducing and showcasing themselves as much as possible. So we do this by providing a facility that will allow people around the world to also bypass many of the top-down and colonial financing systems, the World Bank and the IMF, that were established so many decades ago. So ultimately, we'll also be up to the local people in each local community, region, and country to take advantage of and utilize the knowledge and the tools that we'll be trying to provide to them or not. All we can do is try our best. There's no guarantees, of course. Local people in these local communities might even end up in a worse place overall because of the future trends, which may be very difficult to predict precisely. We believe that a negative outcome will only happen if local people somehow not manage to implement these local solutions themselves. Given the highly motivated and very caring people and the well-educated humanitarians that we are working with, I have confidence that the people in these local communities can actually lead the way in a number of different areas. So I can even imagine that in the future, it may even be the West that will be learning from the currently marginalized communities about how to successfully adapt to climate change without further destroying our own local environments via pollution, the very complex and high energy solutions, those hardened solutions that attempt to fight Mother Nature rather than adapt to it, and where people will have learned how to live within boundaries that are imposed on us by Mother Nature. One more thing I want to put into the chat is a short, well, maybe not too short, but a short video that I would just like to suggest that people might want to watch. It'll be Iroquois Speak Out for Mother Nature. So this essentially is nearing now the end of our presentation today. I just wanted to say in summary that the humanitarian entrepreneurship learning programs that we are supporting are very much focused on engaging youth, and educators, and decision makers in the learning programs and the community engagement processes. But with, again, a strong emphasis on women and girls as leaders in their communities and also their own homes and families, as per, of course, SDG 5, gender equality. The goal of our business and network to eventually establish a new, what we call a new 21st century economy of compassion and cooperation, and the recognition of life value as being fundamentally more important than money value, where money is just a fictional construct created by humans that helps us to make decisions about the most economic pathway to achieving certain outcomes, which are based on the goals that we individually and collectively set for ourselves as human beings. So the Global Unity Network that we're establishing is a network that includes platforms for delivering education, training, awareness raising, along with open idea and cultural exchange programs. It is managed by the Global Unity Business Group, the virtual collaborative network that we're establishing this network through social media and internet-enabled International Unity Gardens Network, which is in turn supported by the Unity Learning Network, educators who understand the importance of delivering programs of life value, peace education in each of our own local countries. So on the last slide we have today, I just put up some sustainability guidelines. So I leave this slide up on the screen for a few moments as well to let people read this. These guidelines being provided to us by a gentleman by the name of Mike Nickerson from the 7th Generation Initiative Sustainability Project. He's author of the book called Life, Money, and Illusion, Living on Earth as If We Want to Stay. So one more time, I will put into the chat some information about Mike's work. So I wanted to finally just end today by recognizing our guests, especially the women. And I'd like to ask everyone as well to please put their contact information into the chat so I can get that as well. If there are people that I do not know on this call. And especially, I would like to invite everybody to attend our weekly IGU Summit events, which do take place usually starting at 11 o'clock my local time. It started at 10 o'clock my time. So these are these same presentations, but we have guest speakers on each of our weekly events as well. Thank you very much, Mariam, and this ends my presentation. Thank you.
Well, we thank you very much, Lloyd. And certainly, just a moment, I'm going to share my screen briefly. Hold on just a minute, please. So thank you. Just for recording purposes, I'm inserting this slide now, Lloyd, so that we can have a cutoff point. But please, there might be some questions for you in the chat. So I'll turn it back over to Mariam or Princess Seppi or you to facilitate any questions or comments from our guests. You can either raise your hand or you can begin speaking. Thank you.
Lloyd, thank you so much. That was quite a powerful presentation. I think now what we will do is to open up the floor for questions. I see Shamista's hand is already up, and there was a question before I forget. Perhaps we can start with it. So what we do, Lloyd, is you jot down the questions so that then you answer them in that way, because you may find that some of the questions, they carry the same theme. So while you are answering the other one, you may be covering even the other. So you listen, and then as they ask, you jot them down so that you can answer them in that chronological order. Thank you so much. First question, it is from Idaho. He's saying, what must he do in order to benefit from your program? What to do in order to benefit from your program?
Well,
The second question.
Wait just a minute,
you'll
Lloyd. Wait.
answer later. Yeah,
Wait just a
you'll
minute,
answer
Lloyd.
later.
Yes, we have.
The second
ahead,
question is from Shamista. Shamista.
Okay, so can I ask directly? Okay, first of
Yes,
all,
you
Lloyd,
will-
I must admit you're an amazing speaker. You didn't take a break. You spoke really well. You knew your subject very well. And congratulations on that bit. My questions for you are, I was very, very, very interested, and I work exactly in the same line as yours on clean energy or climate projects. And I wanted to know, what do you do when you suggest to companies or enterprises or firms the sustainable or renewable practices or things that you spoke about, CTP and more? Is it just the CTP, or do you also suggest other sustainable solutions?
Right.
Well,
Thank you
actually,
so much.
Lloyd, before you.
Hold on, Lloyd, you write them down, Lloyd, you will be
Yes,
answering. So thank
one
you,
more
Shamista.
question, yes.
Just
will
one
now
last
be going-
question, and I'm interested to also know about the smart kitchen, which you spoke about. That's it.
Great. Thank you so much. Maisha Vayeni, may we hear your question? And then after Maisha, we will have Moses.
Yes, madam. My question is the following.
Hello.
Yes, hello. According to
Yes, please
my
ask
country,
your questions then.
yes, according to my country, DRC, according to the climate change, I can see that in any sector, we are at a download. We are in a level that is very low. As you know, the country that produces energy for the climate, we are the second after the Amazon region in America. And we give a breed, we give yes, for the world, we strand the climate. But the government doesn't think about even growing from the help to maintain the climate. But the trees are cut off day by day. They are pulled down day by day. And they do not grow as a tree. My question is the following now. What do you think to help Congo so that it can bring more and more help for the area, for the maintenance of the area in the world? And so the environment of the Congo must be also maintained. And secondly, according to the agriculture, a republic that has more than 80 million hectares and 80 million people, but they do not have any.
Okay,
hectare.
excuse me,
Yes.
Please, at another time, we can have a more detailed explanation. But for today's purposes, please make the question short, and then we'll go to Lloyd to answer the 3 questions. Thank you very much.
Okay, anasema tu naomba itaje kwa mwingine kwa okay, we thank you too much.
Andrew, may I
Yes.
request you to mute the people where we are hearing the noises from?
I'm made multiple people co-hosts, including you. So please help me out. Thank you.
I'll do that. I'll do that.
Okay, Dorcas, you be trying to mute you. I don't understand why. Dorcas, can you please mute yourself? Thank you. All right. May we request that, I think what also Maisha can do is to put, because we were struggling, I don't know about you, Lloyd, I was struggling to hear his questions. I don't know whether is it his line. Maisha, can you please put them in English in the chat area so that at least while Lloyd is answering other questions, he can capture that one as well and be able to answer it in a complete manner. Moses, please hold your hand. You are on the next session. So we'll allow Lloyd. Lloyd, if you can just please also answer them in that, I don't know if it's possible, as brief as you can, so that we can go to other questions as well.
Yeah. Okay, I guess the first one was, I didn't catch the name of who asked that, but I wrote down what do they need to do to benefit from our programs. So the idea, what we are doing in Africa right now across the continental network is.
Just hold on, sorry, Lloyd, sorry. Yeah, I think Maisha has now, can I request that everybody to please mute yourself, unmute only when you speak, so that our speaker can have enough time to speak without interruptions. Please, my humble request.
Thank you. So in order to benefit from the program, so as I said, the partnerships that we are creating would be with a local educational institution in the local community where we would want to deliver the learning programs. So because we are focusing on these 5 solutions, the CSV Gardens, the Victory Forests, the Spark Learning Centers, the Climate Smart Kitchens, and these Wheel of Life farms as farm schools. So many of those are under, some of the programs exist already. So the Climate Smart Victory Gardens, the CSV Gardens exist already. Victory Forests are likely in development as well at this time. Same as the Climate Smart Kitchens. So we originally developed the model, and I'm sort of moving into the next question as well around smart kitchens. But the original concept around that is something that is being developed now. So it likely won't be until perhaps middle of next year that some of these solutions will be available. But we are co-creating these as well with members of the network. As we move forward, we have connections to some of the top people who have put those solutions on paper, but have not yet had the chance to demonstrate them in the real world. So the idea is also to work with our local entrepreneurs to develop those solutions as open source solutions that can be shared among all of the members of our network. How to benefit from the network at this point, we're just building the network. So joining one of our discussion groups on WhatsApp, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, we have many nodes of the chapter or nodes of the network. So the idea is that we will eventually partner with a local educational institution and bring everybody onto this virtual collaborative network. And that will provide those working spaces in the virtual reality space that will allow people to gain access to learning gain access to that vital information about how to actually implement these solutions locally for themselves, by themselves. We do also, I wanted to mention very importantly, have a team working on the financing side of things. And I mentioned in one of my slides that really what we're trying to do is try to bypass many of these traditional financing systems and mechanisms. So the World Bank, the IMF, and all of these where funds are basically provided to governments. So by, let's say, the World Bank gives a loan of billions of dollars
Lloyd,
to a government, right?
Lloyd,
So
I appreciate the in-depth nature of your answer, but because we have others, I'd ask you to limit your reply to 2 minutes, and for any questions, to limit them to 1 minute. Thank you.
Okay. So the idea is the benefit will come by joining the network, and eventually we will have a partnership with a local educational institution that allows us to deliver content through the Unity Gardens, and we will educate and train youth to learn how to build those gardens.
Thank you. Next question. You have 2 more left, and 2 minutes each. Thank you.
So besides the collaborative tree planting program, so that will be the main sort of way we bring our interfaith neighborhood business collaborative together. But I did mention, for instance, the Bubble Fun festivals, and so these other programs as well, like the
Lloyd, you're still on question 1. You need to go to question 2 from Sharmista. Thank you.
Sharmista asked what besides CTP. So this is what I am explaining.
Okay, thanks.
So besides the CTP program, it is these sort of the dream boards in local communities concept, along with the tea diplomacy initiative and the Bubble Fun festivals, and the mapping projects, for instance, that will allow a local community entrepreneur, these humanitarian entrepreneurs, to map themselves onto what we call a sacred site and watershed map, where we put the trees of peace and reconciliation onto the map. We did this in Sierra Leone. We're just using a Google map for now, but eventually we'd like to move forward to develop a customized map that includes watershed boundaries, so that youth especially can learn about their own local watersheds, and through that process of interacting with a different geographical configuration. So we do have, and I explained in the presentation, some of the other programs that we do want to deliver. We try not to do too many programs because we don't want to get too complicated.
Thank you, Lloyd. You can go to the next.
So the last question from Maisha in DRC was about climate change, and from what I got from that, he asked basically what can help Congo prevent cutting the trees. So there's a program, and I mentioned it as well, for payments for ecosystem services. So that is something that we're having discussions through our Unity Network Finance organization. My colleague right now is actually in India on a fact-finding mission, and the discussions are ongoing to develop a financing mechanism for those who protect the forests. So it originally called Payments for Ecosystem Services, that actually now we call PAGI goals or PAGI program. So payments for global goals implementation, where we would start to pay people for implementing solutions for achieving global goals within the context of their businesses. So that is a program ongoing. We're having discussions around that with some financial experts in that realm. So protection of forests will have eventual payments, protection of ecosystems, restoration of forests, replanting of community forests, etc.
Well, thank you so very much, Lloyd, and I apologize to our guests. But because we do have another presentation, please table your questions until after the next presentation. Mrs. Seppi, I'm turning it back over to you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Lloyd, are you still going to be with us? Maybe you can just answer them through in the chat. Moses has been having the hand, and Mau has just also raised. Moses, apologies to you. Do you want to put your question in the chat, and then and Lloyd will engage in the chat so that we can move on with our program? Our humble apologies, sir. We recognize that you had your hand quite high for some time. And same to you, Mau, if you can please just put your questions in there and Lloyd will answer them. Thank you so much. Miriam, over to you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And thank you so much for the patience and a very detailed presentation from Sir Lloyd. Sir Lloyd, thank you so much for joining us and presenting such a great model of global development. And thank you so much to taking us as a platform partners with you. And yes, today's session is specifically regarding this global development model, which we can collaborate through Global Women's Development Network as well. So thank you so much. So now we are moving towards Dr. Calvin Morgan. Dr. Calvin, are you ready with us for your live visit of your agriculture farm? If you're with us, and kindly unmute yourself and your camera, and we can all see you and your farm as well live on this Zoom call.
Hi, thank you so much, Miriam. Thank you so much for that. How much time does Dr. Morgan have?
I think so. It need hardly 10 to 15 minutes.
All right, so that at least we know.
There is no there is no speech from separately from his side. He's just giving us a quick visit of the farm, and then we have Patricia from the same organization as a guest speaker to talking about the family, talking about the farming. So now quickly we can visit the farm, and then we can move towards the speaker.
Thank you.
So Dr. Calvin. Because he is continuously with us on WhatsApp, connecting for the call.
If he is not, we can maybe move to Patricia. We can.
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Yes, and we would like to acknowledge all our guests that have just entered. I see Mr. Lawrence Wasserman. You're welcome, sir. There was another guest. Some I don't see the names. I only see the name of the phone, but we would like to acknowledge you, even our online audience, for following. I would like to acknowledge you. We say thank you for making time to be with us. So right now, Patricia, is Patricia here? Is Patricia here? If they are not, let us move to the next speaker, please, Miriam.
Maybe don't have today we have these two keynote speakers, Sir Lloyd and Dr. Calvin Morgan, and one guest speaker is Patricia. So we are only waiting for them. If they are with us, then we can listen them. Otherwise, we can shift them on another day. So let's so let me talk to them if they are available, so then they can join us.
Well, the great news, Lloyd. Well, the great news, Mrs. Seppi, is because they are not ready, then perhaps we can continue with Lloyd to either answer questions, or I'll turn it back over to you, Princess Seppi, for how you want to handle it, since we do have Lloyd here and we do have other people that do have questions for him. I'll turn it back over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Lloyd, I'm going to work with you very closely, my brother. Just imagine that we are sitting in the boardroom and try and be as precise as possible so that we don't lose you as you are answering the question. We can capture you. So let us hear now from Moses Ikuru. with your brief question, and then so that Lloyd can just go straight into it as well. Then we will hear from Mao as well. So thank you. Moses?
Thank you so much. I hope I've posted my question on the chat box, the 2 questions, and I think it won't be imperative if again I will repeat them because they are there on
Yes.
Also having another meeting around 8, which on Zoom, and which I feel I will be leaving in the next 5 minutes. So I think you can just see them on the chat box and answer them there so that I read them. I think that will be okay to save time.
Thank you,
Am I
Said.
clear?
Lloyd, did you see them, Lloyd? I'm trying to scroll through.
The one
I have
on
not.
trips.
I'm trying to.
Well, perhaps you could just ask the questions.
Under which name? So Moses,
Yeah, just-
Moses, I don't.
Moses, just ask the questions. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Let me ask the question. I saw on tree planting. I was asking, how do we do this tree planting? Where do we get the seedlings? Maybe because I may be having land that I need to give for the tree planting. That is question number 1. Another one on SDG number 4, which is quality education. How do you, the Global Unity Network, how do you partner or support our community schools, for example, in the villages that have no proper infrastructure or learning facilities? How do you assist in that manner? I think those are the brief questions I have. Mr. Lloyd. Thank you, sir.
And
So-
Lloyd, have you kept at that one? Let's go to Mao again so that you have them, you know, and then Mao, can we hear your question, please? Mao Kabungulu. Thank you.
Je suis Mao Kabungulu de la République démocratique du Congo.
I am Mao from the DRC, the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
En fait, ma question est de savoir.
In fact, my question is to know.
Nous savons, nous sommes nés au Congo, grandis au Congo.
We know really we have been born in Congo and we grew in the Congo.
Mais le monde sait que la RDC, c'est un pays très riche en potentialité agricole.
But the world knows that the Congo is richer in agricultural potential.
Mais quand il s'agit de la question des donateurs, tous les donateurs mondiaux, on ne les voit pas tourner sur le Congo pour sauver les humains congolais. Ils acquièrent beaucoup de choses.
Do not come to Congo to help Congolese in order to help them push and grow in agriculture.
Les donateurs ne restent qu'accuser le Congo, mauvaise gestion, la guerre, alors qu'ils savent qu'une fois la République démocratique du Congo est sauvée sur le plan agriculture, il peut nourrir même toute l'Afrique et pourquoi pas le monde. Et on se demande pourquoi les fonds ne sont pas orientés en RDC pour sauver les humains mondiaux.
Anyway, we know that Congo has recently know some wars, but however, we know if
Did we lose them? Okay. In the meantime, Lloyd, you can answer. I think, Lloyd, do you speak French, isn't it?
I can read French. I can't speak French.
Okay, no, that's
I
fine.
understood the French part somewhat.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a perfect translation in my head. But I am in Canada, and my mother is from Quebec. She never taught me French when I was a child.
Okay, that's fine. We can go straight now, and you can now do your answers. Thanks, Lloyd.
So I guess the first question was from Moses regarding tree planting. So the idea is that we are not a developer of projects. We don't go into any communities. We are simply delivering the education and training virtually. So we train a local community. We help a local community establish these partnerships at the local level, at all within the 7-sector partnership.
That can't help it truly.
Sorry, we have Mao back on. It sounds like there. But the idea is that we help the local community develop partnerships with all the different levels of government, with NGOs, and this is the tree planting initiative. So the Trees of Peace and Reconciliation, create the partnerships, and then we bring everybody onto this virtual collaborative network, these virtual spaces. And within the network, there are multiple nodes. One is a financial facility, so finance network, which would house people who have the resources, the financial resources, to, let's say, a foundation wants to go to DRC to plant trees, to reforest an area that has been previously deforested. We bring that foundation onto the network. And so they would finance the trees, but we would like them to also, let's say in a developed country like in Canada or in the US or in Europe or somewhere else, that says, okay, we want to plant trees too. So for instance, in a conversation with city of Mississauga right now. So Mississauga has a plan to plant millions of trees in the city of Mississauga. So if the city of Mississauga is going to plant trees, let's say 1 million trees in the city here in Toronto area, we would set up a mechanism. So we create a local interfaith neighborhood and business collaborative in the city of Mississauga. And then there's a local interfaith neighborhood and business collaborative in Freetown, Sierra Leone. So we create a partnership between Freetown, Sierra Leone and Mississauga, Canada. And we say, for every tree that you plant in Mississauga, we want to plant an equivalent number of trees in Freetown, Sierra Leone. So we now create this partnership between the two interfaith neighborhood and business collaboratives. This is what the collaborative tree planting program is about. It's not about us going into a community to plant trees for anybody. We are not doing things for people. We just develop a network that allows for partners to join the network. So foundations, government, and all of these different partners are on the network, part of the network, having conversations with local people in local communities who understand what they need. So only local people understand really what they need, especially at the grassroots level. So we're not going to impose to say you need to plant trees. We're going to say we're planting trees, and we're going to broadcast to the rest of the members of the network. Does anybody else need trees? Because we're talking to this foundation that says they're willing to pay to plant trees in Congo or in Africa or in South Asia or wherever. So we can facilitate the conversations through the network for the members of the network. And so the collaborative tree planting program is about twinning, or even, like I said, thrinning or quadrinning. So we can, let's say we can bring 5 communities together on 3 different continents to say, okay, city of Mississauga is going to plant 1 million trees. We're gonna work with this, I don't know, Gates Foundation, whatever it is, and we're gonna help them to plant equivalent number of trees in this city and this city and this city and this community. And that's what the CTP program is about. It's about bringing those local community, interfaith neighborhood and business collaboratives together in conversations around implementing solutions, which could be tree planting, but it could also be other types of regenerative infrastructure as well.
Now, tuangalie eske unit yetu haiwezi create kama vile bije konte yabo.
Thank you, Lloyd, for those answers. Shamista, your hand is up.
Lloyd, I just have a very simple question. I see the amazing work that you do on the tree planting. Have you ever thought of, converting them into carbon credits so that, that money could be used back for the development in many nations?
Again, once again there, so I mentioned the payments for ecosystem services. So carbon credits are a kind of payments for ecosystem services, right? It's,
yes.
Carbon is CO2, basically, whether carbon is in the air as CO2 or carbon is in the soil. So ultimately, what we want to do is, for the idea originally, Drawdown Markham was going to do the Ctp program, the Collaborative Tree Planting Program, to plant trees in a community in Eastern Ontario. We were going to partner with the government of Canada. We were going to plant trees on private properties and have those trees counted toward basically the carbon offsets for the Canadian government. So we were basically facilitating local community private landowners to plant trees on their local farms. But those privately planted trees were intended to be planted to produce carbon credits for the Canadian government to offset their CO2 emissions. Under the Paris Agreement, Canadian government said, we're gonna reduce our emissions by X amount by X date. So let's say, I don't know, 20% by 2030, whatever the number was at the time, which is changing all the time because we have these COP meetings and there's new goals. But at that time, 2 years ago, we were talking about, okay, we're gonna plant trees on private properties across this county. Those trees are gonna be planted by military cadets from a military base. But there's trees, we're gonna facilitate plant the trees on private property. Those trees are gonna be carbon credits for the Canadian government. But now we're talking beyond carbon credits. Now we're talking about payments for ecosystem services, not just carbon credits being one of them, but also some, as we call the PAGI goals. So the payments for global goals implementation. So if you're implementing a goal to achieve gender equality, that might even also have a payment for itself as well. Of course, that has to be negotiated. That has to be where the financiers are looking at the ESG goals of corporations, right? So ESG is environmental, social, and governance. So those goals that corporations and governments and others are setting for themselves need to be implemented somehow, and there need to be some kind of financial facility. And this is what our partner right now, we're having these discussions to implement these called PAGI payments for implementing the global goals in the local communities. And so we're going way beyond carbon credits. So carbon credits, yes, included, but now we're looking beyond that.
Yeah, more as a carbon capture technology is what you're looking at. Thank you so much. I would like to connect with you on a different platform or personally to know more about this. That's where my expertise lies in as well. So I would like to connect on a separate note.
Also, just to let you know, Sharmista, every week, we also have the meetings with Lloyd every week. Actually, we're now in the time when we normally have his meetings, but I would suggest that we collaborate because it may be possible, Sharmista, for us to actually assist you in establishing this in your local area and to bring your strengths to what Lloyd has brought. But for the audience, just to let you know, we've decided to extend today's session so we can complete any questions and answers to Lloyd. We had a previously scheduled speakers. They can come later in our program. But since we have him, let's take advantage of it. Ball is back in your court.
Thank you so much. That is true. I think, Lloyd, do put questions in the contact so that we are able to follow you with another platforms, the meetings that are taking place every Thursday. So Nancy, let us hear your question, please.
Good evening, all.
Yes, we can hear you, Nancy. Shoot.
Can you hear me?
Hear you. We can hear you loud and clear. Shoot,
Yes, yes,
Nancy.
please continue, Nancy. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. I'm sorry for being late, but I've been hearing and following up on the conversation, and also I've been responding or also sending messages on the chat. The contribution that I want to make is that in Sierra Leone, there is a lot of timber logging all over the place. And when you look at the context for which these activities are being done, is that the government is willing and supporting the process. Even though there are a lot of projects that has to do with afforestation. But when you look at the community where these timber logging is being done, you hardly see a vast area where these trees are being planted. So it's really, really worrisome. And in some communities, you see a heavy widespread of storm being disturbing the local communities. There are a lot of other things that are happening. The time the rains are supposed to be coming no longer happen. You see, during the dry season, you see rains coming, and it's a problem. Anyone that has visited Sierra Leone will attest to the fact that Sierra Leone is a country that has been known for natural vegetation. But if you come to Sierra Leone,
Nancy, sorry to interject. What is your question, ma'am?
Yeah, I'm making a contribution that if we have the political will as a result of this deforestation, we'll be able to have a headway into this climate change. But if we don't have
Nancy, that's beyond the scope of this conversation. So if there is no further question, we'll move to the next one. Thank you so much, Nancy.
No problem. Thank you.
Just wanted to mention that just keep in mind that we are not a political organization. We are a business group, and we really don't try not to get into any political discussions, except to help local communities create partnerships, including first with their local governments, including potentially with national governments and other levels of government.
Othieno, please just mute yourself. Thank you, Lloyd. Do you want to say something? We have just 5 minutes to wrap up, please.
Yeah, so I wanted to just point out that we are nonpartisan. We are looking at all the different communities and trying to recognize their where each of them requires intervention. And so this concept of leave no one behind is sort of the central tenet of where and how we approach the local communities, and they would need to self-identify where their entry points are. So we're not going to impose. I mean, this is the colonial system that so many people are used to, and as we colonialize our delivery of the solutions to achieving these global goals, we need to really think differently in how we're thinking. Like, we're not top down, we're bottom up, and this has been emphasized again and again within the African network and the conversations that we're having. Is that for instance, the Africa continental team was elected by the country chapters, and once the country chapters are established, we're intending to basically have a very democratic system where the local INBCs, the local interfaith neighborhood business collaboratives, are the ones who elect their country chapter leaders, and the country chapter leaders elect the continental chapter leaders. So we are facilitating the creation of a network that's intended to be very grassroots and very democratic, from bottom up, where we're looking at each of the local communities as the entry points for doing the undertaking collaborations. Where our ultimate goal when we created this network was to demonstrate partnerships for the goals. So demonstrating SDG 17 through local community to community partnerships.
All right, thank you so much, Lloyd. And I would like to really highly appreciate, I think we have answered all the questions. I'm now going to hand over to Miriam. I think we are within our, or we even ran over our allowed time for daily, because we meet on daily basis. So we try to make sure that we kept our audience so that they can come back tomorrow. We are just on the 7th day, so we still have 6 days to go. And it has been such a wonderful presentation, so enriching. We're better than yesterday, better than a few hours ago. And we now know better. And we know what, from your side of the world, how you are tackling this agricultural or even this, the climate smart or food security. And we have learned so much, and we know you have taken your time to prepare, we can see. And thank you very much. We are going to be continuing with the discussions on the platform where we meet every week, and we invite everybody to do that. That is why we call ourselves a network, so that we all network and we all follow each other. And it is all for working towards Agenda 2030. We want to leave nobody behind, no one behind. Miriam, please take us home, madam. Thank you so much. From myself, Princess Tevi, from the beautiful South Africa, it's quite late here, and I don't even know, Pakistan is even very late. So I would like to say thank you very much for being such a good audience to a certain extent. And thank you for your presentation, Lloyd, a very well prepared presentation. The questions, the feedback, and engaging you. I think you today you saw how. So thank you so much. Miriam, Fatima, we will speak to you tomorrow. We are now closing. Thank you. Miriam, take us home, madam.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for all the audience to joining us today for this wonderful session. Sir Andrew, if you want to add something, otherwise you can close today's session. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Just in closing, I would like to ask everyone to reach out to Lloyd. We have these weekly meetings on every Thursday. So Lloyd, if you could in the chat, put the contact information. But I would like to thank everyone for participating and let you all know that we're all part of one family. Everyone here is part of our extended network. And so we're all family. We want to invite all of you to join our own International and Indigenous Women's Development Conference 2022. It'll be held in March of next year. But this event right now, these 16 days, are just a preview of that activity. So consider this to be your training platform. We're getting ready now for the world. The few people that we have here don't reflect the 500 people that are watching us on Facebook, and every day that number grows. So each of you need to be thinking about how we can make this happen going forward. Shamista, I want to address another important issue that you brought up. The issues that we're talking about, they do have global implications, but it's up to us to educate ourselves about what that means. Not just the Sustainable Development Goals, there are 17 of those, but there are 169 targets. That means that each of us could find out how what we are already doing is impacting what the world is trying to get done. It's only using data that we'll be able to identify where the local problems are and what we're doing to address those solutions. That is what attracts funding and support. We have to demonstrate what we are doing in order to qualify for assistance and support. So we have to educate ourselves about what is actually going on right now, how we can get involved. I'm a very strong advocate of the United Nations Global Compact. Go to, excuse me, go to unglobalcompact.org. As Lloyd mentioned earlier, These Sustainable Development Goals are only the second phase of the Millennium Development Goals. That's a 1,000-year plan for us to achieve peace on Earth and peace with Earth. Dr. Kofi Annan launched that as General Secretary, but he also launched the United Nations Global Compact. That was intended to have corporations, the private sector, civil society, and academia work together collectively to actually leave no one behind. There is a 3-year plan from 2021 to 2023 that's already in effect. I think, and I encourage all of us to become advocates of that plan so we can attract funding and support from organizations that are already getting paid to do what we are already doing ourselves, but they don't know about who we are. So we have to make our efforts known. So Mariam Khan, thank you so very much for providing this global platform. We have additional sponsors that are not named in that logo behind you that I've added, including Universal Citizens Media Network. The idea is that we produce our own content so we can attract people to what we're doing. And also we empower our young people, our millennials, to be the ones to do the social media and create public service announcements for our good causes and create infomercials for the projects we want to attract funding for. So I think it's important, Miriam, that we just realize we're all part of one family. We have to all work together to accomplish those objectives. I think AHIABGA-TV is the perfect vehicle to do that. Thank you so much. And if there are no closing thoughts, we're going to close.
Good night,
I'll open the floor for any
everybody.
closing comments.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for everyone for joining us. Thank you so
Good
much.
night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Miriam. Thank you,
Thank you.
Andrew.
Thank you, sir. You're welcome.
Thank you, Seppi.
Thank you.
Love to all.